Friday Night Funkin' Disbelief is an FNF mod by Danish developer and some other people submitted to Game Banana. First releasing in September of 2021 with remaster releasing November the same year, the mod is based off of Flameset Games' Undertale Disbelief AU animation. To be honest, the only reason why I found this thing was because I saw a meme that showcased its less than stellar music. I'll be looking at the remastered version. By the way, before we get into the mod proper, I just have to bring up a couple things. First off, it seems like someone tried to steal this mod as there are two pages uploaded around a week apart that appears to be the same mod. The differences between the two pages are that the credits in the copy are far less comprehensive, the bit about the mod being remastered is gone, and the file name being different. The submitter for the copy also created their account the same day this was submitted. Interestingly enough, the alternate download link for the two submissions leads to the same GameJolt page. That's also down for some reason. Another thing to bring up is that, in the credits of the non-remastered version, the original author of Friday Night Funkin' is credited to a guy called NinjaMaFan99 who abandoned their account the same day they made it. I know this is probably just a slip up or something, but it was too funny not to mention. We're now in the mod proper, and the first complaint I have is that the background for the options menu makes the text almost completely unreadable. Isn't that just pheasant? Also, I will admit, I'm a bit late and uninformed on all of this, so if one of the people shown and or discussed here to up to have committed a train robbery or something, I understand that this is an offense and not an endorsement of what I really did. Also, if I get something wrong about this, then I don't care. Anyways, entering the first week treats us to a cutscene. Friday Night Funkin' by NinjaMuffin99. I thought it was NinjaMuffin99! The plot here is that once upon a time, in a different timeline, Sans decided that as opposed to letting Papyrus get murdered for the bajillionth time, that he should instead try to intervene and kill the human Snowden to spare his brother from his usual fate. This didn't work, and now Papyrus is sad and angry and is now seeking revenge against the guy who did it, Sans. It's basically a straight adaptation of the source material. The only major difference here is that instead of Frisk, our protagonist is boyfriend or XML instead of throwing hands and spit bars. This does have some fairly interesting lore implications though. Game theory! Is boyfriend and Frisk secretly the same person? I have no proof of this being true, but if you just think about it hard enough, it makes sense! The first song here is Interstellar, originally composed by D. Boyd and Commissar, and goodness, that earlier a lot of issues straight from the get-go. First of all, Papyrus' voice is just straight up out of tune. Not only does his voice sound unpleasant, it also sounds like they're off by a semitone. It just doesn't match well with anything in the song, not with the beat and especially not with Boyfriend. Speaking of the beat, the instrumental here is just a crappy MIDI cover of the original song. There's not really a lot to say about it beyond it not sounding terrible. An issue that comes up often with this mod is that the tones between Papyrus and Boyfriend can be pretty unbalanced. Since the songs are almost entirely unchanged, you won't think the vocal composition will release the comfort effect that the songs were composed with Friday Night Funkin' in mind, right? Well, not really. One of Papyrus' turns here lasts 20 seconds straight, but this means that he just talked for a second and left off the boring bits. Isn't that The mod also just has a lot of downtime in general. The penultimate section here has 30 seconds of nothing that I feel like is only here because the creator didn't know what to do with this part. The only thing it really does is punctuate the ending of the song, where the two engage in mutually assured destruction through dissonant harmony. The second song, Megalo Strike Back, originally composed by Jimmy the bassist, is a complete train wreck and it's the song that inspired this video. First thing about this is that the instrumental to the song, and for the rest of the music in the week, isn't some terrible MIDI recreation and is instead the original unedited song. But technically as a better beat because of that, the vocals make up for it by sounding legitimately broken. The vocals, as bad as they already are made even worse with the terrible pitch shifting. It takes the already out-of-tune voices and amplifies them even further, resulting in a completely unlistenable experience. There is really nothing in the song that is in tune. Whatever key this is in is from a different universe. The showing here is also really bad. While the first song was, at worst, kinda poor, this one is downright awful. The song starts with you getting jumped and it never lets up. Sometimes a lot of notes appear for no reason. Sometimes you play notes that doesn't exist. Sometimes things are charted as chords for no reason. It's a disaster. Another issue that this mod has is that sometimes one of the two will abruptly interrupt each other's turns out of nowhere. Like for example, in this section, where in the middle of boyfriend's bit, the part decides to go. It comes completely out of nowhere. I presume the interruptions are supposed to be like they're following up each other's verses, but it never comes off like that. It comes off more as them cutting each other off. It never sounds natural. The fact that, again, the two are singing a half semitone apart doesn't help matters. And also, just this first interlude. You know, my favorite part of Undertale Disbelief was when Papyrus, during the fight against Frisk, said, "I am truly in disbelief from the actions you committed against my brother." Undertale Disbelief. I fell into a 3-week coma when he said that was truly life-changing. The lifesteal is also really annoying. It lowers your health anytime Papyrus hits a note, which could be fine except A, the lifesteal here takes a hell of a lot of health per note, B, Papyrus' turns here often last an extended period of time, and C, the charts often spam a gazillion notes out of nowhere. This means that every single time your turns start, you're practically at death's door. This gets grating later on. Beyond that, a lot of the issues that permeate the first song are dragged over to this one, so let's move on. Backbone, originally composed by Lone with an intro done by Jimmy the bassist, is something else. It's certainly quite the experience, one that will force you through beat by beat. The song introduces itself with the sharp yet delicate tones of the piano. Pressing of keys cause hammers to lower down, striking the strings within. As the pitches and emanates echo through the last corridor, something slowly unravels, something greater. Secondhand smoke really messed him up, huh? After that bit, it's now time for Bone Trussell. An interesting thing with the vocals is that there's actually a slight harmony in this. In the barest form of the word, that there are multiple notes playing at the same time. If you listen closely to one of the characters, you can hear an additional voice singing. It's pretty cool. It is ridiculous that one person can somehow create multiple voices by himself, but hey, that's the least of this mod's issues. At least the dissonance in Papyrus' voice here sounds almost cool here. Like there's something there and then wasn't there. You know what I mean, right? After a few measures of this, Papyrus leaves and Sans, as a ghost, is here to take his place. And he's here to do Megalovania. Yeah, the song's a bit heavy with the light motifs if you couldn't tell. Then after that bit, Papyrus suddenly materializes out of thin air, forms a bunch of notes, and then the screen goes black. And white. And here's more Bone Trussell. And okay, so this looks like it's pretty uncharted, but it isn't. It's charted of backing vocals, I think. You can barely hear another voice behind the leading one, but other times it isn't there. I think. I don't know what the hell the deal with this is, and I'm afraid to ask. At this point I feel like it's just a hallucination or something. After that bit, the screen goes black once more. And now we're back in the corridor, and also there's a paper cut up on line. Yeah, this mod doesn't really do these songs justice. The major issue with the music here is that it tries to be as faithful to the original compositions as it possibly can. Gameplay and vocal compositions be damned. What this results in is problems like the turns being absolute nonsense, downtime being frequent, or the fact that, once again, most of the week is completely out of tune. It's fairly clear the developer here had neither the wits nor the skills to be adapting these songs into this context. Just about every problem mentioned here is at its absolute worst by Backbone, since the song primarily consists of character-like motifs. By the third minute, playing the same melodies over and over again just gets tiring by the end. There isn't really anything different being done here. The mod is just sticking to the original song as closely as it possibly can, even if it can't do that right. Now, just to bring it up, you may be watching my gameplay in the background and think, wow, Lames232, I can't believe you're playing this game this bad. You should remove the Ames from your name, so it's just L232, for you have no right to a name that rhymes with games for this display of incompetence. And yeah, but half of it is because this engine is really bad. This isn't really as responsive as one would hope it will be, and a bad engine with this jarring just doesn't mesh well. However, since this is just an old version of Psych Engine, there isn't really anything preventing me from just dragging and dropping the mod to a newer version and have a better hit engine. Except now it's a far worse experience since healing is drastically reduced to sustains not returning health anymore. Alongside the lifesteal, whatever slight bit of health you manage to scrape by will gets swept up by Papyrus. And Backbone just doesn't work. The screen just stays black and never shows any arrows. But at least the hit engine works. Back to Backbone, and honestly from this point on there isn't really anything that notable. It's just more of the same, more Bone Trussle, more Megalovania, so moving on. The fourth song is Final Chance, composed by Flames at Games, and to be honest I don't really have much to say here. One thing I can say here is that Boyfriend here sings in a low register. Isn't that cool? And yeah, that's about it for the main week. Except, as you can see here, there's an extra week that consists only of Papyrus' 5th phase, Painful Retribution. Reading the mod description, the credits, for some reason, only list the FNF version, with no non-FNF version in sight. So I'm just gonna guess that it's simply an original song, and to be honest, it's pretty good. It's not great by any standards, but by this point, anything that isn't a bastardization of someone else's composition is worth a thumbs up from me. And to be very honest, I will have to admit that the song is actually pretty cool. The hook is pretty neat, the spirit is nice. The ending where the two sing is actually pretty awesome. And, greatest of all, the song is almost entirely in tune. Or at least, it's in tune with itself. This isn't to say that it's absolutely flawless, cause my god, the downtime issue is somehow at its absolute worst here. There's at least 1 minute worth of the characters doing absolutely nothing. The charring is also pretty bad, but what do you expect by this point? Beyond all that, yeah, I sort of like it. Beating the song treats us to the credits. There isn't really much after this, there's no bonus songs as far as I know. However, something you never knew because I never told you is that I was actually playing in normal difficulty the entire time. It was just renamed hard. There's actually a harder difficulty presented as hard ++, except there's absolutely no noticeable differences between the two difficulties. The only thing I did notice was that the credits at the end of phase 5 can play. And so, the all important question here is, should you play this mod? Not really. This mod can be very funny, but the joke just kind of wears off after a while and all you're left with is just a terrible Friday Night Funkin' mod. Maybe it's worth a playthrough, bring someone else for a ride, but beyond that not much else.